Imagine living in a world where countries judge their strength not by ideas or diplomacy, but by how many battleships and soldiers they could show off. That was Europe before World War I, and it set the stage for disaster. This mindset is called militarism, the belief that a nation must maintain a strong military and be ready to use it aggressively. In the early 1900s, militarism wasn't just a policy, it was a culture. It shaped governments, influenced people's sense of national pride, and affected how nations treated each other. Some historians, especially intentionalists, argue that because leaders were already thinking in military terms, war was almost inevitable. One clear example of militarism was the naval arms race between Germany and Britain. Germany started building dreadnoughts to challenge Britain's dominance, and Britain responded by building even more ships. This arms race didn't just make them stronger, it also made them suspicious and fearful of each other. Intentionalist historians argue that Germany's buildup wasn't just defensive, it was a deliberate attempt to gain power and influence in Europe. In this view, leaders were already thinking strategically about war, which made the eventual conflict more of a choice than an accident. Another key part of militarism was the belief that war could be actually good for a nation. Many leaders expected a quick, decisive victory that would strengthen their country and boost national pride. Intentionalist historians argue that the overconfidence didn't just make leaders reckless, it made them actively consider war as a tool to achieve political and strategic goals. They weren't just reacting to events, they were weighing options, calculating risks, in some cases hoping that a limited conflict could benefit their nation. So when Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated, countries mobilized almost immediately, worried that delaying actions would put them at a disadvantage. Militaristic thinking, combined with these intentional decisions by leaders, turned what could have been a regional crisis into a full-scale global war. In this sense, the war wasn't just an accident of events, it reflected choices made by leaders who saw military actions as both necessary and potentially advantageous. In conclusion, militarism played a major role in pushing Europe into World War I. By glorifying military strength, encouraging massive arm races, and giving military leaders more influence than diplomats, it created an environment where countries expected and even accepted the ideas of war. This mindset didn't just shape military planning, it shaped how governments thought about security, power, and national prestige. Intentionalist historians also point out that leaders weren't simply reacting to unfolding events. They were making deliberate choices based on their own ambitions and the belief that war could strengthen their nation or advance their political goals. Because of this, the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand didn't remain a small regional crisis. Instead, governments responded with speed and aggression, fearing that hesitation would make them look weak. Ultimately, the combination of militaristic values and the intentional decisions of key leaders transformed one event in the Balkans into a conflict that engulfed the entire world.
Nationalism is the feeling of being a part of and feeling proud of your country, but it is used as a tool to persuade troops into battle by telling them they were born during a great time and this is the ultimate glory. Countries also use nationalism to back their people behind them by convincing them that they need to protect the motherland because it is under attack from the enemy. Nations typically place their own interests above others, like the Austro-Hungarian ultimatum, where conditions were great for one nation but were not aligned with the interests of the other. Events leading up to the First World War gave some countries confidence and pride, whilst others felt that they need to redeem their past efforts that may have been lost. This feeling of pride is what left certain countries itching for war, like Germany, who sent a blank check to Austria and Hungary, providing full unconditional support against Serbia, or Vienna, who wanted the Balkan War for more territory. Advances in technology, specifically weapon technology, grew exponentially during this time. For example, tanks, machine guns, and flame blasters to clear out trenches. Many countries put a significant amount of their money into development of these new technologies, creating an unbalance of power between nations. Germany's nationalistic ideals are also not to be overlooked, as they had an extra incentive for war. Germany, unlike other countries, was very young and had lots of room for growth and especially expansion. If a window arose, they were certainly going to take the chance to prove their worth. Britain, to other developing nations, was also seen as an obstacle, making them a prime target, especially in pre-war media. Many nationalistic ideals were enforced by individuals as well, that stood to benefit from the war. This is usually like money or just for glory. For example, the general in the movie Quiet on the Western Front sent his troops out with 15 minutes to go in the war because he wanted to be well recognized like his father, and he thought that this was his path to glory.
This is an overview of alliances during World War I. So, what is an alliance? So, a simple definition of an alliance is that it is a union or association between certain groups or people/nations that agree to work together for a common goal or mutual benefit. So, there are many examples in today's world, such as trade unions or trade organizations or any sort of sister organizations that exist. So, in terms of early 19th century Europe, an alliance or set of alliances are formal agreements between nations that made them obligated to defend and assist each other. So, to explain this better, let's go over this example. So, Nation A and Nation C are have a mutual defense pact. Nation A does not want to be in a war alone with Nation B, and C does not want to be alone against Nation D. Similarly, Nation B has made a similar pact with Nation D. Suddenly, Nation A has been attacked by Nation B, and Nation C is therefore obligated to assist and attack Nation B because of those pacts I mentioned. But because Nation B is fighting a war on two fronts with Nation A and C, Nation D, since it has that pact with B, has to now drag itself to join the conflict. We'll say Nation E and F are neutral, represented by the green line. This causes so much unnecessary violence and deaths, which is really just an oversimplification of how crazy and unclean these alliances were in early 19th century Europe. Just to note, blue represents alliances, red arrows represent the war declarations. So, let's quickly zoom past this. This was the German Reich from 1871 to 1918. So the circled part is Alsace-Lorraine. Long story short, the North German Confederation, which is the blue part, and France fought in a war with each other. The North German Confederation wanted to reunite all of Germany, including the southern German states, to create a unified German state for all Germans. France did not like this idea because of the new power balance that would result, so it fought with Germany. And France lost this war very quickly. Because of the war declaration and the victory of the Germans, the German Empire was proclaimed, and this area circled in red was Alsace-Lorraine. This area was taken by Germany as punishment for France deciding to fight it. Next up, we have the Balkan Wars. The Balkan Wars took place in 1912 to 1913, so just a few years before World War I actually started. So, the first Balkan War was where these Balkan states, these Balkan states with help with Russia, fought against the Ottoman Empire and mostly kicked them out of Europe. The second Balkan War is all related to Bulgaria, which is why they're circled. Bulgaria was very unhappy with the upset face. They were very unhappy that they didn't get much territory from the Balkan Wars, from the first Balkan War. So they decided to take all the other nations' territory to try to expand its own borders. However, no other nation liked that, and no other nation wanted Bulgaria to become too big, so they all fought Bulgaria and defeated Bulgaria, which created a spite within the Bulgarian population. Next up is the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. This map in 1910 is just shows the ethnic groups within Austria-Hungary, so the distribution of races. So you can see there are many races. There's Germans, Hungarians, Czechs, Slovaks, Poles, Ukrainians, Slovenes, Croats, Serbs, Romanians, and even Italians. So most of these people you see in the key. Most of these people, they all have their own unified state today. They're each a country. You probably heard of Slovenia, you heard of Ukraine, heard of Italy, heard of Hungary. Hey, they're all their own state today, but it wasn't like that before, which is why so many people were unhappy. And this can really be more expanded upon in nationalism. Finally, we have the set of alliances. So represented as red is the Central Powers. As mentioned before, the background, all the causes caused them to align with each other. Germany wanted protection and wanted to keep itself safe from France and England and Russia, which it deemed as wanting to destroy it. Austria-Hungary just needed security, which is why they aligned with Germany. Bulgaria wanted revenge, and the Ottoman Empire wanted to retake its position as a dominant power in Europe. Meanwhile, the Entente, represented in white, is England, France, and Russia, the main powers. They all wanted to just stop German expansion, and that was really their whole goal. They didn't want Germany to become too strong.